that time. Time to build a PC. So, first off, this is 3200G, and this is actually from my Resident Evil Umbrella build. Now, the reason we're using this, and I took it out of that build for this, is because I'm actually upgrading the other system. So, stay tuned for that. But we're going to recycle this and then put it into this new little system, and you'll see what I'm talking about. For RAM, we got this T-Force Delta R 3200 megahertz. We have 16 gigabytes, two 8 gig sticks, and that one's actually recycled from my main rig. I actually changed the air cooler and there was no space, so yeah, I had 32 gigs of total, so I just left 16 gigs in that system, which is well over enough for that. And then I'm going to use these to recycle them into this system. So far, used parts, this is what we have. Now, no GPU, and you'll see why later on. That's why this chip is actually, the APU is perfect for this build. But what we're doing today is we're building a B450, but this is micro ATX. So this is B450i. It's an ITX, sorry. So this is probably the smallest computer that I've built so far, but it's for my brother. So, and that's going in with this InWin Mini ITX tower. It's a B1. So this thing should be, it's a little ITX case, and the graphics card definitely doesn't fit in there, but it's not like he's gonna do a lot of gaming. Like, that's not his forte anyways. And I also got this little low profile cooler for the system. And then for memory storage, we got this Kingston A2000 SSD M.2. So yeah, and just for curiosity, this is the size of this case. It is pretty small. If you don't believe me, here's the APU right next to it. But yeah, this should be a fun little build. So we cracked the internals of the system. As you can see, this is a glass panel, and inside we have our workspace. Fun fact, it does have a PSU already installed, so yeah, this is the space that we are allocating for the system. Should be very interesting. Now here's our motherboard. Like I said, it's a B450i from MSI. I think this is their True Gaming Plus AC or something like that. This is actually the first MSI motherboard that I've messed around with. I usually buy Asus. It isn't the first MSI product I've ever bought, as you can tell by this graphics card that I've used in a different build. So, one important thing I wanted to get for him was made sure that it had Wi-Fi. So, as you can see, here's the Wi-Fi part of the motherboard. Other than that, this is a really cool motherboard. The aesthetics wise, it looks really nice. It's just really tiny. But yeah, this is going to be a cool little build. So the first thing I'm going to start off doing is grabbing this memory here, focus, SSD, and installing it. And that actually goes back here, as you can see, into that little slot right there. So I'll show you what that looks like in a second. So we're going to grab these 500 gig from Kingston. We're going to put it in here, and it screws in right there. Inside your motherboard case, you should see this little M.2 screw. It's really tiny. What you want to do is push this down and then screw it on there. And there we go, it's inside the system. Next is my tried and tested the 3200G. This is actually one of my favorite APUs. I've used this multiple times in multiple builds. It's an awesome little thing. And since we're not using a graphics card because it doesn't fit inside the system, this thing is awesome because it comes already integrated with graphics. So yeah, this thing is going to be an awesome little system. As always, what we want to do is we're going to lift up this little retention arm like so. And then right here in this little corner, if you take a look, there's a little arrow, and that's going to match the little arrow on the CPU. Actually, where's the arrow? It's right there. You see that little golden arrow? That's going to line up right there. You want to gently place it in, and it should just fall into spot like so. Then you just want to grab the retention clip, push down, and the APU is installed. Now we will be removing this CPU cooler bracket because the CPU cooler would be way too thick and it wouldn't fit inside the system, so that's why we went with the Master Air G200P. It's a low profile fan, and plus it's an RGB fan, so it should add a little bit extra bling to the system. Now this mini build requires a miniature low profile fan. Next time you see this bad boy, it'll be installed. To be honest, I'm not going to go through the whole process, but essentially you just take out the mounting bracket and install the bracket for this thing. But it's going to be a long-ish kind of thing, so I'm not really going to show it. This isn't really a full build guide anyways. But yeah, removing back plate. So this is the old mounting bracket, and here's the new one. So now that I have the brackets inside and the backing plate, now it's time for the thermal paste. So I used a pea-sized amount of thermal paste, and I put the heatsink on top. These two go in these two little holes, and then the fans. And then we should be all set. Then we just connect it. As you can see, we have a CPU cooler and our fan is installed. RGB for the fan goes here, and the fan connector goes on top. Actually goes right here. I hit the cables underneath. So next up will be the RAM right here. So those go into these slots right here. We just want to push them till they click, and we're all set with our motherboard. We have our RAM, in the back we have our storage, APU, and our CPU fan. So I think we're ready to go inside the system itself. Very important, don't forget your I/O shield, and that's going to go pop into the case. And it's going to go in that little hole right here. It should look like this. Now that the motherboard's inside the system, we connect the 4 screws that connects the motherboard to the case. Very important, this case here, since it's plastic, it needs to ground. So if you look at that little wire right there, it goes into the motherboard screw that holds it in, and that would ground this whole case. So yeah, all that's left is all the wiring. So yeah, let's get to it. Here we are, everything's inside the system. Just gotta cable manage a little bit, and then we'll connect the front panel back on. And I'll show you when everything's all buckled up and ready to go. And with that, the build's all set and ready to go. It's actually the size of a router, so it's awesome. Of course the RGB is not in sync, but I'll work on that. I'm also going to be installing Windows and all that stuff and get it all nice and ready for him. But anyways, if you sticked out this long and watched the video, thanks for watching. Like and subscribe. And stay tuned for the other build where I'll show you how I upgrade my my umbrella computer. But yeah, lots of fun projects. This thing is sick. Look at the antennas. Look at this thing. It's sick.